Okay, we are continuing on the idea of debugging. So this is the second lecture related to debugging. So if you're not seen my first debugging lecture debug 1, I would strongly suggest that you do that first before you come here. Okay, so because I'm going to assume you know a few things. Okay, so in the last lecture we talked about various type of debugging, and the very last segment we talked about breakpoints. Okay. So in this segment, we're going to learn a little bit more about breakpoints and how breakpoints can be used within a loop to see program execution. Okay, and maybe also with some if-then-else condition. Okay, so here's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a problem where some x is defined, x is 1 to 10, and the code is going to basically simply square this variable and report here. So we're going to just square the x. I'll tell you what, let's do that first, okay? So we're going to, so the code is very simple code. It's going to read a value and square it and report it back to you. So let's go and build this program. What is it? Okay. So here's my code. So I'm going to use the option explicit. We talked about it a lot last time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to define dim x as single, x as single, and then I as single, I is integer. So I is an integer variable. There are 3 variables I define. I'm going to create a loop for I equal to 1 to 10. I'm going to loop over 10. And now I'm going to read cells, x is equal to cells. It's coming from I plus 1, I plus 1, comma, in the first column. Okay. So this basically, when I equal to 1, it will become 1 plus 1, 2. So we are pulling this number. I becomes 2, it will become 2 plus 1, it will be 3. So we are pulling this number. So that's what we are doing. So we are pulling cell value and dumping into x. Okay. So now I want to create x equal to nothing but x star x squared. Okay. So x is created. So my x squared is created. Now I'm ready to output. So cells I plus 1 comma 2 is equal to xx. Okay, so see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to now create I plus 1, I equal to 1, 2 comma 2, which is this area, goes to x. So okay, so if I run this code, basically it should square everything and give the value back to me. Okay. Let's try whether it works. Okay, so let's stop here. Oops, no. So there is some compilation error. Let's see what happened. Okay, well, so this says compilation error. What it says is for without next. Well, what I did here was when I tried to type the program, this was not intentional. It actually I made a mistake. Forgot to give next because for should always be closed with the next variable, right? Next I. So we need to put a next, and the compilation basically tells you that for without next. So it's looking for a next. So you stop here, clear everything, come here and say, well, my next is missing, so next I. So I'm closing my ith loops. Also see how I'm actually indenting so that all my looped statements are inside. So I can just look at these for next loop separately. It's always a good to do that. Good to write clean codes which are easy to debug. Okay. So this is my loop now. Now let me try again. Okay. So I run it. Well, it works. Everything works fine. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this again. Okay. Come here. Get into the program. View the code or double click sometime, and then come into the program. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Okay, we talked about breakpoints. How do I put a breakpoint? You come to this gray area and then just click. Okay, you put a breakpoint here. Now, if I put a breakpoint there, when the code runs, it's going to stop here. Okay, and it's a pretty cool thing. So we're going to actually see what happens now. Okay, so I put a breakpoint and come here and run the code. Okay, stop it here and run the code. Okay, so now what happened? Look at the output too. We'll keep following the output. The computer code ran up to this point and it stopped right here. Okay, nothing has happened because all it did was it transferred the cell value. Let's see that if you bring a cursor, it will show x equal to 1, and x is still 1, and xx is 1 too because x squared is 1. and it's about to transfer, and then we stopped it. Okay. Now to continue from the breakpoint execution of the code, I told you you need to press F8, F for Fox 8, F8. Okay. So I'm going to press the button F8, and that will go to the next line. Note what happened. When it went to the next line, it actually output here. I press F8 again, and note what happened. It went all the way back and looped around. Now let's look at I value here. I becomes 2. So 2 plus 1, and it's transferring from the next value. It loops around. Now it's outputting 4. Okay, the next value. Now let's go to the next one. It loops back again. What happened to the I? I becomes 3. Remember, I gets incremented. By default, it's incremented by 1. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. So if I keep on pressing F8, I mean, literally, within a loop, I can see how the loop is progressing. This is pretty cool, actually. Okay. And you can see how the output is progressing too. And you can see how I is. You can see all the points inside. And you can basically watch this whole thing happening right in front of your eyes. Okay. And this is a very useful way to debug a program. Okay. Just stop somewhere and then keep pressing F8 and see how the execution is happening within the program. Now we finished everything. It will go to nsub, and now we are done. Okay. So we'll reset everything. Come here, and you can also clear everything, and the program ran now. Okay. Now I want to show you one more way to track the variables. Okay. Another way to track the variable is again we're going to put a breakpoint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some watch variables, which is I'm going to come under debug and say add watch. Okay. Now what does add watch do? Add watch basically allow you to add some variables which you can watch as the program runs. Okay. So I'm just interested in watching x squared. Let's say add watch, and I'm going to I want to watch this variable xx. Okay. And you will see the xx will be put in the bottom actually. Now in the earlier this window was empty. Okay. So I'm going to move it. Now this window is right here, and you can actually watch it here. Okay. So now let me go back to the program and run it. Okay. Same thing happened. It came and stopped here, but now you can tell what is the value of x here. What is the current value of x here? Actually, I'm going to put one more watch variable. Debug, add watch. I'm going to add I too. So there are two variables I'm watching, I and xx. Okay. And then I come here, run it. Okay. It came and stopped. And my I is 1, x is 0. Okay, and it also tells what type of the variable is, integer and a single. And now if I press F8, as this program runs, all these variables will be updated, and you will actually be able to see those values, instantaneous values of these variables. And this is very, very useful, because if you messed up something in your code, you can either see this how the logic progresses, or you can see the values actually here. So I press F8, and you can see how these values are updated here. I is updated, X is updated. As you go along, you can see how I is getting updated, and XX values are updated. Okay, and this is another very nice way, handy way to use a combination of breakpoint along with this option F8, which is basically step into the program, which is just running the program step by step, and add some watch variables to track a progression of a program, actually, a code. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, clear everything, and if you want, once you have debugged the program, everything is working fine, you can always come here and right click on your button and then say delete watch. Okay, so you right click and say delete watch, and you can clear all the program. Once the program is running, you can come back and clean it up, and then you can run it. Well, in this case, we cleaned it up and we run it, everything is working fine. Okay, so let me summarize. Okay, the way to add breakpoint is you come to the gray area and you click the button, and that will add your breakpoint, and you can remove the breakpoint by clicking on it. So, and you can add multiple breakpoints if you want. Okay, and once you have the breakpoint, if you run the program, it will stop here, and then you can, under the debug option, you would see step into F8. Okay, that option, if you press F8, then you can execute the program in a line-by-line mode, which will allow you to debug things. Okay. While you're doing that, you can also add under debug option, add watch, which allows you to add any variables in your program or a combination of variables in the program, And once you put that, let's say I want to add X, for example, and that will allow me to watch the instantaneous value of that particular variable here. And it will also tell all the information about this variable. And as a combination of breakpoints and these variable watching would allow you to make it your life easy and will allow you to debug your program. Thank you.